Coming up, we're going to be talking about 3 signs that you aren't being fully authentic with yourself. And then we're going to be talking about how to start becoming who you're afraid to be. Let's get started. What's up, y'all? My name is Josh, and I'm so excited to be hanging out with y'all today on the Crazy Good Talks podcast. Now, my goal for this video is for us to learn how to live a more aligned life with who we actually are. That's what my goal is for this video, and I'm so excited. If it's your first time here, we're excited to have you. If you're back, if you've been here before, we're excited to have you back. Let me give you the rundown of what's about to happen next. Let me give you a quick rundown of what's about to happen next. This is the welcome. This is where I get to welcome you in. Come on in, get on ready. We about to have a conversation, all right? Next, we're gonna get into the talks. We're gonna get into why we are here, what we're talking about, our theme for today. And then I'm gonna leave y'all with a question at the end that I want y'all to drop a comment in the chat. Drop a comment below in the YouTube, not in the chat, but in the YouTube comments, and let me know the answer to this question. And you don't want to miss this question because I feel like it's going to really help you take that next step. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. How to become who you're afraid to be. That's what we're talking about today. How to become who you're afraid to be. And that is a big topic, y'all. That has a lot of legs to it. I'm making a lot of assumptions here when it comes to this topic here. So it's just that's a bold claim to be talking about how to become what you're afraid to be. When I read that, I'm like, hey, give me a second, all right? Give me a second. Let me tell you what this is about to look like in our conversation. We talked about authentic. In the last episode, we talked about what it means to be authentic. I just wanted to redefine authentic for us today. Authentic is, the way we're defining it, is the daily practice of forsaking who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. The daily practice of forsaking who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. Now, to kick this off, and what we're going to get started with is we're going to start talking about 3 signs that you aren't being fully authentic, all right? There are going to be more signs than this. It may be a combination of different things, but these are 3 things I want you to start putting up your radar to if you feel like, man, I'm tracking with some of this and I may not be being fully authentic to myself. 3 signs you aren't being fully authentic. So we're going to get started, and we're going to talk about the 3 signs that you aren't being fully authentic. Number 1 is this: people pleasing. I'm going to let that sit. Are you a people pleaser? Do you find yourself doing things so that other people, solely so that other people will be pleased with you? I'm going to tell a quick story. I grew up in Connecticut, born and raised in Danbury, Connecticut, and grew up to 2 Haitian parents, all right? And I remember after graduating high school, I told my mom, I'm not going to college. Now, if you're Haitian, you probably understand the conversation that came next. But if you're not, let me explain what came next. Basically, she told me about myself and how that I was going to college and how I had to figure things out. And I'm just like, man, no, I don't think I want to go to college. I don't know that that's the path for me right now. I was about to just start embarking on doing hip hop and Christian hip hop and all of those things. And I was just like, man, I'd rather kind of take this route than to do that. But at the same time, I wanted to make my mom happy. I wanted to please my mom. And I know one of the things, especially growing up with minority parents, it's just like they come from another country and they work super hard and they're trying to give you this opportunity. So I wanted to work hard and I wanted to please my mom. I wanted my mom to be pleased with me. So I eventually capitulated subtly, I capitulated and I filled out a college application to go to this one college or whatever the case may be. Super late. It was a community college and all of that. And what wound up happening was, I remember as the weeks kind of came closer and closer and closer and closer, I was just like, man, I just really know this is not for me. Like, I know this is not for me. Just maybe in the timing, this is not for me. I now come to realize that I do love to learn, and I'm all about extra education and all of that. Just at that time, it wasn't for me. It was not for me. So I came to this real place where I'm just like, man, I'm going to have to make a decision here on whether or not I am about to, I'm 18 now. I'm about to go out on my own. I'm about to start my own life. Am I about to make a decision based off of trying to please my mom, or am I going to make the decision that I feel like is best for me? Now, let me learn you something here real quick. I understand that I could have been making a mistake. I understand that that things could have not worked out or could have went another way or whatever the case may be. I understand that she had my best interests at heart. But in that moment, I had to decide for myself, was I going to live authentically into what I felt like my path was, or was I going to capitulate to what I thought she wanted my path to be? So, long story short, it was about time to come up on that day to start the first day of school. And let me tell you something. I didn't even know when the first day of school was, because I did not step a foot in that place. I didn't step a foot in that place. I didn't try to get books. I didn't try to book classes. I didn't try to do nothing. I had made up my mind, and I said, this is just something. I love Mom. I know this is probably going to disappoint you right now, but I'm going to have to kind of walk this path out. So as we talk about signs of you being fully authentic, 3 signs that you probably aren't being fully authentic. People pleasing. Are you a people pleaser? Do you find yourself pleasing others and putting others' needs and wants above yours consistently? All right, there's gonna be some of that in navigating within relationships or whatever the case may be, but do you constantly find yourself doing that? Then you may be a people pleaser. All right, now that's the first sign. The second sign that you aren't being fully authentic. Again, this is not just one of these signs make this thing to be true. There's multiple signs, but this is just some of the ones I want to key in on right now. And the second one is lying. Do you find yourself constantly lying to others, right? Do you find yourself constantly telling small little lies, telling small little fibs here, whatever the case may be here? See, lying to others creates a wall between you and the other person, right? So no one really knows who you are when you're lying to someone. So you're creating and crafting this world, and it could be to the smallest lie of, hey man, do you like this movie? And because everybody else is saying they like the movie, now you're going to say you like the movie. Now they bring you along for the movie, and you're really mad at them because they're bringing you along for the movie, but you don't want to be there for the movie because you don't really like the movie, but you try to be a good friend. But then now they're going to invite you to the biggest premiere or whatever the case may be. Like, it can turn into more and more and more. So do you find yourself constantly lying and creating false little worlds of what people now think is a reality, right? Do you find yourself lying? That's the second thing I want us to look at as a possible sign that we're not being fully authentic to ourselves. And the third thing I want us to look at is this. Are you forging your own path, or are you forging a path that someone else has forged for you? Right? Are you forging your own path, or are you simply doing what has been laid out for you without question? Now, it's not bad to follow a path if one has been etched for you and that's the path you want to be on. But it is a question if it's not actually the path that you want to be on, right? If you find yourself living a life and making life choices based off of insecurity rather than your true purpose, like those are the signs that you are not forging your own path. If you find yourself just settling for what one says the normal conventional path is, whether it comes to going to school or whether it comes to the job that you work or whether it comes to the business that you start or whatever it is, like, are you forging that path for yourself, or are you just basing what you're doing based off of someone else, or how you think someone else may feel, or how you think this will make you look to someone else? All right. And this, again, talking about growing up in a minority family, this can be bestowed upon you just by accident. I feel like it can be bestowed upon anyone. But again, like I said, with my parents, I remember them, like I said, coming from Haiti, sacrificing a lot, working super hard, trying to put me in the best position. So sometimes I felt like, man, I just got to follow the plan that you have laid out for me, which was go to school, then go to college, become a doctor, lawyer, this or that, whatever the case may be. And again, they had the best intentions, but it just was not me. It wasn't me. So embracing our true selves involves recognizing some of these patterns and making some conscious efforts to align our actions with our genuine values and our desires. Now, some of you are relating to a lot of what I'm saying. You're just like, Josh, like you are reading my life right now. Some of you are just like, I don't know, maybe not. I think I'm good, and that's okay, right? That's where we want you to be, right? But if you're tracking with me, you probably also feel some type of imposter syndrome, right? As you're navigating life, as you're navigating situations, you feel like you're in circumstances where you're putting on this face, but you don't really actually belong there, right? You may feel imposter syndrome. You may feel this sense of unfulfillment in what you do. You may be super successful in the thing that you're doing, but it's not what you actually want to do. So it actually means absolutely nothing, right? Or you may just feel like you have a ton of superficial connections and relationships, and you're just like, man, like I want something real, but these people that I talk to don't even know the real me. I don't even know if I showed them the real me, if they would like the real me. So my question is this: how do we start to address these challenges head on? What does it look like? What can we do if we realize that we are living a life that is not authentic to what we actually want to be doing? And we want to turn the corner. We want to change things. We don't want to keep living this way. What is my next step? Well, we're going to talk about that. We'll be right back. This is The Talks.
Hey y'all, Bree here. I just remember when we first got engaged, really when we were dating, I said, I put a plate out for you.
And she put a plate out.
How did we navigate that? How we navigate the good things and the bad things. So on our YouTube channel, we just kind of talk about that. Give y'all some insight, not trying to give advice, because we know marriage can be this process that we go through. We just want to invite y'all along in our process. So just subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we hope that we can be just encouragement for y'all, and we hope y'all watch.
Hey, if you think this podcast is helping you and it can help others, help us with a thumbs up on the video and subscribe and share. Thank you so much. That helps us, and I appreciate you being here. Okay, let's get right into it. We just talked about the 3 signs that you aren't being fully authentic with yourself. And now we're going to move on to how we can start being more authentic with ourselves. We're going to talk about how we can start being more authentic with ourselves. Here's what I want you to know. You cannot become authentic with yourself and skip the grieving process. That's the first thing I want you to know. You cannot become authentic to yourself and skip the grieving process. You see, not being authentic with ourselves, not being honest with ourselves, being afraid to be who we actually may be has everything to do with this picture of who we think we should be as opposed to who we actually are. So at some moment, you are going to have to grieve, mourn. Why do we grieve? Why do we mourn? We grieve and we mourn when we lose something, right? So if there's a reality where the person that you thought you should be or the person that you're trying to portray you should be is not who you actually are based off of the decisions and the choices and they're not, if that's not aligning with your values, the only way to start to move forward from that is to mourn what is now, to mourn the gap, the difference of what you thought should actually be. There's a quote, and the quote says this: to find yourself, you must lose yourself, right? To find yourself, you must lose yourself. I remember back in the day, I used to want to be, I got on this kick at one point a little bit. I think it was probably sophomore year in high school where I was just like, man, I want to lock in and I want to go to the NBA. I want to be a basketball player. I want to lock in. I want to go to the NBA. So I used to walk from my house, dribbling the ball all the way to this place called the Center, right? And the Center had basketball courts. So I used to play at the Center. I used to try to practice. I used to be there all afternoon after school. And I used to play and just try to get better and try to get better and try to get better. And I put so much effort into trying to become a basketball player. I put so much effort into trying to be good enough to go to a college and then to actually get to the NBA. That was my goal. But here was reality, right? Reality was all the kids that I was playing with at that time, they grew up playing what some would call Deo sport. They have that in some areas or whatever the case may be. Deo sports is basically a youth sports league, and they grew up playing since they were younger. My parents didn't want, like, I wasn't playing any type of sports. I played music. I was musically inclined. We weren't doing sports at that point. So I started getting into sports in high school when these kids started playing in elementary school. So the learning curve, I was way behind the learning curve. So it didn't matter how many hours I put in, I was just way behind the learning curve. But then also, what I realized is I was average build, right? I was probably at that point almost 6 feet or whatever the case may be. I was nothing crazy. I was not super tall. I didn't have this super just natural talent for the thing. It was just me and trying to go with hard work, trying to attain this dream. And here's what I had to realize. Here's what I had to come and realize myself, come to a point to realize that, hey, man, Josh, the person that you want to be is not the person that you actually are, right? And there's nothing wrong with trying to work to it and trying to get to it and trying to be there and trying to become that person. But at some point, we're going to have to realize either we've made progress or we've not made progress. Now, that may seem a bit trivial, right? That may seem a bit simple and juvenile to say, yeah, I get that. As far as I understand we got to grieve who we thought we would be, and I get it. I wanted to be something. Let's just say you wanted to be a cook growing up, but then you never got to do it, or I wanted to be that. It's easy to say things when it feels like the dream is very far off, but there are also things that we need to be grieving practically, right? Like you need to probably be grieving the fact that you think you're a kind person, but the way people are experiencing you, you're not. You think you're a loving person, but every time you do that thing to that coworker and then they go and they talk about you, that you're not, right? Grieving who we think we are, it can be from the bigger things to the little things, but I think until we understand who we actually are today, we cannot move forward and grow from where we are. Right? This is something I'm still learning. This is something I feel like we all should be learning, is we cannot move past who we are today until we accept who we are, grieve who we are, and then take the steps to move forward into that. So You cannot become more authentic to yourself and skip the grieving process. Number 2, you cannot become more authentic to yourself and not embrace silence. I'm going to say that one more time. You cannot become more authentic to yourself and not embrace silence. The quiet. Right? There's so much going on in our lives. We have so many things that we can be distracted by. We have so many things that can capture our attention. We have so many things that can distract us just from our reality, right? Everything is going to stop us from just the quiet, our thoughts. And let's be honest, some of us are terrified to be alone with just our thoughts because we know that we now have to hear what our thoughts say, and we have to face our reality, right? I think it's funny because I think oftentimes the thing that I do to decompress and to hang is I like to walk around my apartment complex. I like to walk around my apartment complex at night, and I just like to process and decompress, and that's kind of where I kind of do my it's my verbal journaling, if you would, right? That's the time where I get to kind of process that. But it'd be funny because I'll be going through a whole day and something will happen and this will happen. And the whole day I'm thinking I am upset about this thing. Man, this thing went wrong and this is that. And I'm just angry. Today I'm just angry. And then like clockwork, I will get home. I will do what I got to do. I will eat. And then I will go for my walk. And then as I am walking, I will sit and I would just listen in the quiet, and then I'll be like, and then it doesn't mean anything. Like I'm just listening, I'm walking, my thoughts are going, whatever. And then I get back inside, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not angry, I'm tired. As I got time to sit with my thoughts and actually process through what I was going through and what I was experiencing, I realized that I was reacting in one way, but something else was actually going on. See, the root and the symptom was something else. The symptom was anger, but the root was tired. It was something totally, completely different, but I could have never got to that realization had I just been processing and moving and making action and just kept going and not stopping and seeing what was really going on. You cannot become more authentic to yourself and not embrace silence. So let's recap a little bit what we learned today. We're going to recap what we learned today. So we talked about the 3 signs that you aren't being fully authentic with yourself. 3 signs to start seeing if you aren't being fully authentic with yourself. We talked about people pleasing. We talked about lying, and we talked about not forging your own path. All right. And then we kind of talked about how to start becoming more authentic. And we talked about, are you grieving who you thought you should be? And we talked about, are you embracing the silence? Man, guys, I just wonder what it would look like for us to start to just be honest with ourselves for a minute. Just be honest with ourselves for a minute and accept where we actually are and grieve who we wanted to be or what we wanted to be. And I'm curious about what it would look like for us to start doing that and the release that would start to come from that. I'm curious about what it would look like in the peace that would come from not feeling like you have to try to fit in and you can actually belong where you are. I'm curious about what it would look like for you to feel accepted for who you truly are than for you to feel like people are just in love with this facade of who they think you are. And I think those things are definitely possible. But here's what I want to leave us with today as we're pondering. Here's the question I want us to go on with as we think about things. Why does it feel like such a struggle to let go of the idea of who we thought we'd become? Why do you think? Why do you think it's so hard for us to let go of that idea of who we thought that we would become. You know what to do. Drop your answer in the comments. We've had an amazing time together. I had a great time with y'all as we process through these talks. Can't wait to hear you. See you on the next episode. These are the talks.
Thanks for listening to the Crazy Good Talks podcast. You can watch more of this podcast on YouTube. You can also find Josh across all social media.